Hi everyone, my name is Tammy and I'm an advocate for children with special needs. And welcome to Sped Answers Way. I developed this tutorial to help parents access the special education needs, specifically the state complaint process. It's very complicated. It is a pain in the neck, and I did it because I want parents to know at the end of the school year that there is recourse and that you can file a complaint at the end of the school year against the school district, and the state will investigate. Even though summertime, it doesn't matter. I want you to know that you have recourse and that no matter what the school district says, they can't just say no. They have to put it in writing, and you have a next level. And the school district doesn't want you to access that next level. But I'm going to show you how, and it'll be up to you. If you use it, good. If you don't, it's still good. But know this, the district will continue to violate your child's rights because they can. And you going to team meetings and whacking your head against the wall, arguing with them is not going to make it any better. It's not going to work. They don't care. They would much rather have a hostile team meeting than to be investigated by the state. Think of it like that. What would you do? Would you prefer to be investigated or to have some team meeting with somebody who's threatening to do it? I would much prefer to have the person who's threatening to do it and have a hostile meeting. I don't care nothing about it. When we get up and leave, I'm still going to do whatever I want. Why not? Nobody's stopping me. That's why they do it. We're going to put a stop to that. Okay? So today we're going to talk about the complaint system. The complaint system is cost effective. You don't need a lawyer to do it. You can get a lawyer to do it, but you don't need one. You definitely don't need one. What you need to know is what your complaint needs to contain. And basically, it's evidence. You have to make clear and concise allegations of violations of the law. No sadness, no stories about how they treated your kid. It was mean, and they don't care nothing about that. I don't care what you say. They don't care nothing about how they treated your kid or how they treated you. You need facts. Did they break the law? Because the law doesn't have anything about any parent's sad story and how mean and a level of meanness that's accepted and not accepted. Nothing like that in the federal laws. The law is the law. You have to cite a law they broke, okay? It's number one. First and foremost, you have to do that. You always have to cite a law they broke. So once we get that established, then once you figure out that you believe they broke the law, so now you have to go to the website, go to the Department of Education website in your state, and download the special education state complaint form on their special education page. Usually that it has to do with special education, so it's somewhere within it. If you can't find it, call them and they'll tell you where it is. So you download it. Some of them have it so that you can type right on the screen, and like in Pennsylvania, apparently they don't want to be in the 21st century or nothing, so you have to print it and then write on it. Yeah, because they don't. Yeah. And you can't fax it. In other states like Massachusetts, which they just did, so they weren't that good either. They just changed this in 2014. You can download it, or you can actually write on it. It's both in PDF and a Word file, so you can go online and you can fill it in, and then you can actually fax it to them. Okay? So, but get the form, because there's pertinent information in there that goes directly to what the federal law says you have to have when you file a complaint, what the complaint has to contain. Because the state can throw it out if certain information isn't in there, like, I don't know, your child's name, or the school they attend. It's simple stuff like that, and they will throw it out because they're crazy. So instead of calling you up and saying, what school does he go to? Yeah, because they don't want to do these investigations. Understand that. They don't want to do them. It makes them look bad, especially when they find in favor of you, because they're saying, yeah, the district did that, because they're supposed to be watching them so that they don't break the law. So the first thing you have to do is do that. You have to get the form, because the form tells you everything that needs to be in there. You fill that all out. Now, there's going to be sections on the form where there's lines and stuff where you fill in stuff. Don't fill out anything in there, because it's not enough information. It's not enough space for you to put in there. And on one of the sheets, it'll say if you need more space, use another sheet. So what I do is I just write see attached, see attached, see attached. There's 3 spots where you have to put in information about a brief statement. They say it's not brief, but you have to put in a brief statement. Don't listen to that. It's brief, as far as you can tell. You put in as much information in there as you possibly can about what they did to your kid and what laws you believe they broke. Because when they break one law, there's several underneath it that they break too. It's not just one law. There's several underneath that they broke. So the law is huge, okay? It's 307 pages of regulations. It's huge. That's number one. So in each section, one section tells you to put a brief statement of what happened. The next one is, who did you speak to at the school? And then the next one is, what do you want in resolution of this? How do you propose to resolve these issues? That's actually your remedy. Okay, so on each one of those things I write, see attached. Because the last one I just did, which was just a couple of days ago, was 7 pages. And that was double spaced, but it was 7 pages. That's another thing, double space. Okay, so now we got that established. What goes in it? The laws goes in it. You need to cite a law. First of all, first and foremost, the first thing you say, the district denied FAPE to my child. Then you have to say how they denied FAPE. You have to understand what FAPE is. Free and appropriate public education for your child with a disability means a whole lot of stuff. So everything that's in your child's IEP, if they didn't do everything that's in your child's IEP, that's a denial of FAPE. Period. If your child keeps getting suspended from school and he doesn't have a behavior program and they didn't do a manifestation hearing after 10 days, after 10 times your kid was suspended for 10 days in a whole year, that's a denial of FAPE. They were supposed to, there's a procedure they have to follow. Your child's on an IEP. Your child can't miss 10 days of school. I don't care if the child got suspended or not. That's not to say that your child shouldn't be punished or serve some kind of consequence because they violated some code of conduct. That's not to say that. Even though they broke a code of conduct, there's still a procedure that has to be followed by the school district. So that a preventative thing. So if the district didn't do that preventative thing, they denied FAPE to your kid. Because your kid needs more services, clearly. Kid been suspended 10 days in one school year, and he's on an IEP. That's every single day your kid didn't get those services. And by the way, when your kid is suspended, they're supposed to give your kid the services that's in his IEP while he's sitting at home. Yeah, yep, they're supposed to do that. After 10 days, they've actually changed your child's placement. If your child gets suspended for more than 10 days in one school year, it could be all at once, it could be cumulative. They changed your kid's placement. Your child wasn't at school, he was at home for 10 days. That's what the law says. That's a violation. There's lots of ways for them to violate. Not evaluating in all areas of suspected disability. So let's say they did a math evaluation and they only did multiplication and division. They didn't do adding and subtracting. Or they didn't do all of the things like reasoning, analyzing, concepts. They didn't do none of that. Okay, if they didn't do it, now we don't know what your kid can do. We know your kid can add and divide, but we don't know all the other stuff your kid can't do. That's a violation. If they didn't evaluate in all areas of suspected disability, whether or not it's related to the disability, that's a violation. Okay? And to prove it, you have the evaluation. I'm going to teach you some tricks about how to prove that. It's really, really cool. You're going to love it. And the schools don't know. But now they're going to know. I don't care. They do their stuff wrong all the time and they act like it's okay and it's not. So anyway, there's lots of ways for them to violate your kid's rights. So the first thing, and all of it stems under FAPE, free and appropriate public education. So the first line you say is, your kid denied FAPE. That's the first thing that goes at the top of the page. And then you tell them how they did it. And then there's a whole bunch of other little laws that they violate. Like I said, the evaluation procedures is another one. Big. They didn't provide you with prior written notice about changing something or evaluating your kid. They violated consent laws. They didn't get your consent to do an assessment. These are all separate laws they violated that you can file against them for your violations. Okay. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can get the documents from school. One of the things that I like to do is when I take a case, the first thing that I do is tell the parents, go get me a copy of the records. I want everything with your kid's name on it. I mean everything. And sometimes the schools don't like to do it. And if your kid gets free or reduced lunch, you get the first copy free. So you go down there and you tell them you want everything, no matter where the records are, you want everything. And I don't know if you got everything or not. I know where the records are and what's supposed to be in your kid's records, whether it's your kid is just getting on an IEP or whether your kid's been on an IEP. If there's been any amendments, if any, I know what's supposed to be in your kid's file, because IDEA, the law, is based on a paper trail. Everything they do, there's a paper that goes to that thing. If they have to send you a written notice about their refusal to act on your request, that document has to be in your child's file. So that's what you want to do. Now, there's other things that you can file against them for, and one of them is on the IEP itself. For instance, if they wrote an IEP that you don't understand, that's an ambiguous IEP. Okay, if you don't understand it when you get it, what the hell does this mean? That's an ambiguous IEP. When you walk away, and they can't say, well, what we meant was, no. What you meant needs to go in this IEP, because if I leave this district, what's going to happen is the people that get my kid's IEP, they're going to say, what the hell does this mean? What do I do, call you up on the phone and make you come to the team meeting at the new school? No, you're supposed to write an IEP that's not ambiguous, where you don't get to say, I meant. Well, what you meant is you need to put it back in the IEP. Whatever you meant needs to be in the IEP. If I don't understand it, you need to put it back in there. So writing an ambiguous IEP is against the law. So that's another way you can get them. Goals and objectives not being measurable. That's another one. That all of that means that the IEP is not reasonably calculated to address your students' unique needs. That statement right there, every time you cite them on something, you have FAPE. The next thing that they violated is they didn't write an IEP that's reasonably calculated to address your child's unique needs. Okay? If they didn't evaluate in all areas of suspected disability, and the evaluations is what pushes or drives the IEP, because it's because of the evaluations that your child's IEP looks the way it does. If without the evaluations, your child's IEP wouldn't look like that. So if they didn't evaluate in all areas of suspected disability, then the IEP is not going to show all of the areas, which means the IEP is not reasonably calculated, which means the IEP is ambiguous too. See what I'm talking about? So those are some of the things that you can go after them. There's not enough accommodations. You want more. You want a slant board. They said no. You want weighted pencils. They said no. You want an iPad. Did they do an assistive technology evaluation? Lots of stuff. We'll get into all of the things that you can get, okay, later on. Okay, the next thing, what you want to include, the paperwork that you want to include to support your allegations, are things like the evaluations that were done. Okay, the evaluation shows the investigator who your kid is, what your kid can and cannot do, and therefore what the IEP should reflect. If you send them documentation and you say, my kid's autistic, they didn't do any evaluation for OT or PT. One of the characteristics of being diagnosed on the spectrum has to do with coordination, has to do with sensory, has to do with handwriting, catching a ball, all of that stuff, hopping, skipping, jumping, has to do with everything. They didn't do it. So guess what's missing? OT and PT eval. Report cards, wonderful. One of my clients in New York, we did a hearing. And the school district said, one of the things is that they said he didn't need PT, physical therapy. For 4 years or 3 years, no, for every quarter in the report card for 2 years, physical education, PE, he got an F. He's 12. He got an F. School district said he didn't need PT. He's autistic. The PE teacher said he can't follow directions. Ooh, go figure. My kid? No. Can't be talking about my client. He can't hop. He can't jump. He can't skip on command. If he does, he can't sustain it. He doesn't understand the rules of the game. Really? Communication. Major problem. So this is what the report cards show. So it supports that you wanted a PT and it supports the need for PT. District did not evaluate in all areas of suspected disability. There you go. Progress reports, IEP progress reports. Our IEP progress reports are good because sometimes the school districts, they don't put all of the information in there the right way. They'll say stuff like, he did good. What does that mean? He did good. Did he meet the objectives in the IEP or not? And if he did, how so? They can't even, because a lot of times they're even ambiguous as to whether or not he met the IEP goals and objectives. Sometimes they actually say he didn't. In 1 year's time, if the kid didn't meet the IEP goals and objectives, or every quarter you keep seeing the same thing, he's not meeting them, we need to have a team meeting to discuss why he's not. Hello? That can prove that they didn't address your child's unique needs in the IEP. They didn't modify it. Outside evaluations are wonderful, okay, that you paid for and you got from your insurance. Now, when you do outside evaluations, just on a side note, when you do outside evaluations and it's for your kid and it helps you to prove that your kid needs this service, you need to give it to the school. Within 10 days, they have to have a team meeting to discuss the results. Doesn't mean that they have to do everything that it says. All they need to do is consider it. If they say no, they have to put it in writing. Yeah, that's nice, but we're not doing anything on that. That's good. That helps you. As long as they put it in writing. And if they don't, you need to get them to put it in writing. And I'm going to teach you how to get everything in writing, whether they give it to you or not. New word, it's contemporaneous. That's my new word. I really like it a lot. I'm going to tell you all about it later. And then letters and any correspondence between you and the school district and from outside service providers. One time I had a service provider write that the school district said that they didn't feel, it's my favorite story, they didn't feel that the student needed to be evaluated. So I got it from a third party on a document. Sitting at the team meeting, parent hires me. I go to the team meeting. I got these people sitting in front of me, and they admit that's what they said, that they didn't feel. So I looked at both of them and I said, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know the federal regulations talked about the school district's feelings. Yeah. I'm going to need you to do the evaluations or I file against you. There's nothing, it's not about your feelings. Okay? I want evaluations and I want them now. Or we can go to hearing and you can tell that nonsense to a hearing officer about that. Quickly, within no time. Not only was she evaluated, but one of my things was I wanted a child in a residential. She was severely disabled emotionally and behaviorally. And they just couldn't contain her. And she was just going to end up hurting herself or somebody else. And so for a period of a year and a half, she was put in a residential funded by the school district. Yeah. That's about their feelings. Okay? So that's always good. Letters, anything like that to support, that supports your position. Don't just put random letters in there. Don't just put random anything in there. Make sure whatever you're sending them supports your position. It shows what you tried to do. Paper trail. Wonderful. Create the paper trail. Do it. So when you submit all of this, so now you gathered all of this information. You have the application over here. You've gathered all of this information. Okay, so now you got little piles. So what you want to do is, the first thing you want to do is put the IEPs on the top of the pile. Okay, because you want the investigator to see the IEP first. So they can whip through it and see all of the services going on. Okay, then you want them to see any and all quarterly progress IEP reports. So that can also prove your case. So you want to put them underneath the IEPs. Then you want to put like the report cards and any evaluations. You want to put all of that in there too. Okay? You put those in there. I'm just looking at my notes. Keep all of the documents that are the same together. So if you have more than one IEP, because you could have 2 IEPs or 3 IEPs written in one school year. It depends on what's going on. You could have an IEP and 3 amendments. Okay, so keep all of the IEPs together. Keep all of the amendments for each one of those IEPs. Whatever IEP it's amending, you need to keep that in there too. Okay. Now you have to understand the state is going to request documents from the school after you file your complaint. I'm going to tell you that in a minute. Okay, so keep everything in date order too. It's better for you because then you know the sequence of events that took place that led you to this place where you're filing a complaint. Okay. Keep everything in sequential order. Keep it simple. Keep it, when you're writing this out, keep it very simple and be straight to the point. and list any and all special education violations. Okay, I'm going to provide a link to the IDEA regulations, and in one of my tutorials, I'm going to show you guys how to access, how to look for all of the regulations that are usually violated by the school district. It's just way easy. I mean, there's so much that they violate. It's repetitive. It's like they all go to this one place and they say, okay, these are the regulations we're going to violate this year. Is everybody in good with this? And then all the special ed directors across the United States raise their hand. They go, yeah, we're good. We'll straight across the board, these are the ones we're going to violate. That's how often they violate the same laws. That's why I know them by heart now, because they violate the same ones. So, but like I said, keep it simple. Get straight to the point and cite as many special education regulations that you can find to support your position, okay? Because the state investigations, those people that are investigating it, they're not prepared for you to give them the federal law. Now, oh, good point. The state might come back and say something stupid to you like, we don't use federal law. This is your response. It's my understanding that the state law is supposed to be aligned with the federal law, which means for every federal law I cited, including the one you said you don't do, you're supposed to do it. I'm going to need you to put it in writing to tell me that you're not doing that, because you don't do that in this state. I'm going to need you to put it in writing, okay? Because I'm going to contact OSEP. It's going to be another one, Office of Special Education Program. They're the ones that send the state the millions upon millions of dollars for special education. Yeah. So you tell them that, and you CC it, because I'm going to give you also a link to OSEP. And it's a list of all of the representatives, the people that monitor each state, for each state. So you can actually send them an email and tell them what the state's doing. Yeah. Got you. So anyway, like I said, keep it simple. Keep it straight to the point, and violations, list them. Put it in there. Always use FAPE. If you don't know the laws, then you can say things like they denied FAPE, and they didn't write a reasonably calculated IEP. They didn't evaluate in all areas of suspected disability. They didn't provide me with prior written notice. There's phrases, and what I'm going to start doing, just thinking about this, that's another tutorial. Yeah, I'm going to give you guys all of the buzzwords so that even if you don't have the exact law, you have the words, you have the phrases, and then you're stating it throughout your sentence. So they know, and you have the evidence to prove it. So I'm going to teach you those phrases. That's going to be a cool one too. Okay, gotta remember that. You guys got to remind me, okay? So that's what you have to do for that. All right. Now, like I said, there's a whole bunch of different laws. Violations of non-compliance are huge. But they're usually the same. And I mean the same for you. Not just for me, with different kids. I mean, it can be the same year after year with these people, because they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'm just saying. I don't understand why grown folks would deliberately and intentionally violate laws and then get pissy. Yeah, that's what they do. They get pissy because you filed against them. I don't understand none of that. Okay? None. Don't do it and we won't have a problem. My favorite saying is, don't start none, won't be none. You start some, there's definitely going to be some. Definitely. Because I'm not going to just sit idly by and watch you destroy a child's life just because you can. Because you think you're all of that in a bag of chips. No, not so much. Not in my house. You're not doing none of it. Okay. So violations of noncompliance can also consist of, like I said, denial of FAPE, child fine. Okay. If your child's on RTI and he's on Tier 2, yeah. The district is supposed to refer your kid to special ed. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that, huh? Yeah. Because, see, by the time your kid gets to that stupid Tier 2 for RTI, can you tell I don't like RTI? Yeah, I don't like RTI. I think it's dumb. It's good for kids who don't have special needs because it gives them extra support. That's what it's good for, okay? But even the stuff they're using to give extra support, no. I can get that same kid tested and find out nothing they've been doing for 2 years has worked. And the kid's falling further behind on RTI. I don't like it. But let's say hypothetically, your kid's been getting it. Once your kid hits tier 2, tier 2 says they suspect your child has a learning problem. Okay? If your child has is an SLD kid, then they were supposed to refer your kid because they suspected your child may have a learning disability. If they suspect, they have to refer. If they don't refer, that's a violation of, wait for it, child fine. RTI is junk. RTI is a way to get around IDEA. RTI is not special education. I don't care what you say. I don't care what they told you. I'm telling you, and I can prove it. I can give you an OSEP letter that the Office of Special Education Programs, who gives the states money, and who the state gives the districts money that are implementing RTI. I can give you a letter that says this illegal. Okay? I got that. It's just not that hard. If you want me to give you that letter, you put in a message in this box down below, and I will send you the letter. I will email it to you, or I'll put it where you can get it and download it yourself, okay? I'll send you the link. It's real simple. But that's what child find is. If the district suspects that a child is may have a learning disability, then they have to refer the child for special education, and that means getting the child evaluated using, wait for it, technically sound instrument like the whisk, the Woodcock Johnson, the any of those, okay, complete. The whip, the Wyatt, the Whipsy, those testing, and then there's the key math test, and there's all kinds of other tests for academics, but they have to do that. They have to refer the child to that if they suspect. And here's another, if you come out and say to the school, I want my child evaluated, or I suspect my kid's having problems, they immediately have to refer your kid for special education. Immediately. And I want to tell you right now, from this day forward, I want you guys to put everything in writing. Everything. If you suspect something, I don't care if it's with the teacher, I don't care if it's the principal, I don't care if it's the sped director, I don't care if it's the school superintendent. You put everything in writing. You do it in an email. You send it to these people. They will respond to you. It's wonderful. It's evidence. The E in email stands for evidence. I got that from a politician who used to be the governor of Vermont, and he's a lawyer. And that's what he said, and it's wonderful. He's right. The E in email stands for evidence, okay, for you. Put it in writing. Put everything in writing. After your conversation with the school, put it in writing. That's called contemporaneous. That means you did it right after that event took place, okay? It carries weight. Whether you think so or not, doesn't matter. I don't care. Please do what I'm telling you to do, is to protect you, and it proves your point. Okay? A paper trail is a wonderful thing. Schools don't like you doing this. Do it anyway. Okay? They'll call you on the phone. Let them leave a message. When they leave a message, that message can be used in a court of law, in a hearing, in an investigation. Because when they left the message, like in Massachusetts, you can't tape record people unless they know and they agree. In New York, not so much, but in Massachusetts, yes. It's a violation in Massachusetts of their civil rights if they didn't know you were doing it. So guess what? When they leave a message on your machine, they know they're leaving a message because that's what you say. Well, I'm not available, yada, yada, yada. Please leave a message. They leave a message about all kind of crazy stuff on people's answer machine. Good. Good. It's evidence. Don't erase it. Okay. So, the other issue is a violation of least restrictive environment. Now, least restrictive environment, it's a whole bunch of stuff. It's really cool. But least restrictive environment, one of my clients, for instance, was a little boy, and he was acting out. So the school district in Massachusetts decided, we're just going to put him in this behavioral class. Yeah, no. What do you mean you're just going to put him in? He wasn't on an IEP, and he wasn't evaluated. Nothing. They put him in a classroom with a bunch of bad kids. He was having some serious problems at home because of his mom and being stupid, and she was dumb, and there's a whole lot of emotional stuff going on. He was just a little tyke, a little teeny, was in second grade. He didn't understand what was going on, so he got pissy every now and then. But instead of helping the child, they decided to put him in a classroom with a bunch of other little kids who were acting even worse than him, without an IEP and without evaluating. Yeah, they got served. Okay, and they were all trained. I got the training. Everybody's name in the school district was, I told them that's what I wanted as part of the resolution. I want them trained. I want to know who trained them, and I want to know who participated in the training and the topic of the training. That was part of my complaint. That's what it was. I keep pointing because I have a PowerPoint presentation over here of this whole thing. So that's why I keep pointing to. But anyway, it's not a person sitting there. But anyway, so yeah, they can't do that. So that would be a violation of least restrictive environment. Oh, and by the way, even though if a kid is exhibiting behaviors in school and he keeps getting suspended and the district's not doing anything like referring him for services, the kid is still protected even though he hasn't been determined eligible under the law because of the behaviors. The child is still eligible under IDEA even though he hasn't been determined officially. It's a special law. It's 34 CFR 300.534. Very special law. I love it to death. And you can get them on stuff. But this, again, all has to do with the violation of least restrictive environment. Now, the reverse could happen where you put a kid in an inclusion setting, which is a regular ed classroom with some other kids in the classroom who have disabilities. Except this child is severely challenged. And you put him in a regular ed classroom, that's a violation of least restrictive environment because that environment is restrictive to that child. He can't participate in anything because it's way up here and he's like way down here. So that would be a violation of least restrictive. Least restrictive has to do with the child, not the setting. The setting is part of it, but it has to match the kid. That's what it is. The setting, in order for it not to be least restrictive, a violation of least restrictive environment, the setting has to match the kid. And the school districts like to do things backwards because they think it's all about them. None of that. I don't care. And that's another thing I want to tell everybody. I get mad just thinking about it. The school district can't tell you we don't offer that here. Well, you better go get it because thank you. Could you put that in writing? You put it in writing and say, according to our meeting today, so-and-so said they don't offer that here. Please explain. Now you got it in writing. Now they have to respond. We didn't say that, I bet. So when will my kid get it? When's my kid going to get it? So the district likes to make things sometimes all about them, and it's not about them. They're supposed to have it, okay? They're supposed to have services and supports and the proper personnel to implement an IEP and to provide your child with free and appropriate public education just like his non-disabled peers. Yeah, that's what's supposed to be going on. So anyway, so that's what least restrictive is. Well, I can get into all of these separately. If you want more information about least restrictive and child find and denial of FAPE, send me, respond down below. And I'll do my best to contact you. Or you can go to the spedanswers.com and you can contact me through there. Matter of fact, I have to put in the chat box. But there'll be a chat box there soon. And you can contact me through there, okay? And I just talked about evaluation in all areas of suspected disability, prior written notice, and a placement decision. So you can dispute the placement. So you want a private school, and the school says, no, he's going right over there in that classroom over there. We don't care nothing about. It doesn't fit him. That's where he's going anyway, because that's all we have. That's illegal. And you can dispute that. That's enough for a complaint right there. You're disputing, you rejected their placement. That's all you have to do. By the way, if you live in a state where there's no signature page and for either the IEP or the placement, hand write it in if you reject it, or if you're rejecting it in part, hand write right on the IEP. Okay? In Massachusetts, which is the only state that I know of that actually has a signature page on the IEP. And there's 3 ways you can reject the IEP in Massachusetts. You can do it the whole thing in part, or or accept it. Okay, so, but if you don't live in that state where you have a signature page for the IEP, and by the way, participation in the meeting is not a signature that you accept everything in the IEP. That's totally separate. And they do that in Pennsylvania. Well, you participated in the meeting. That's not a signature page accepting the IEP. Okay? If you don't like the IEP and parts of it, you write on the IEP, I'm rejecting the IEP in parts. And the parts that I don't reject, I expect to be implemented. That's what you put. Okay? You guys listening to me? Good. Okay, so let me see. The next one. Okay, part of the denial of FAPE should include, like I said, if the district didn't evaluate in all areas of suspected disability. Does the IEP include all areas of need? OT, PT, speech and language, academics, math, reading comprehension. Does it include all of that, or did they bunch stuff up? Like in Massachusetts, I've caught a lot of school districts doing this. Well, they'll have a goal and it says social, emotional, behavioral. That's one goal. That's no. Can't do none of that like that. Those are two huge areas. I mean, three huge areas. Social skills is one all by itself. Behavioral is one all by itself. And emotional is one all by itself. You can't bunch them up. None of those things are compatible. Each one of them has an impact on each one of them, but if you do it separately, then you'll be able to get more out of it. You need to create goals and objectives that are specific to that particular thing for which that goal was written. Okay? Student did not receive, didn't get the services that's written in the IEP. That's illegal. That's compensatory. And I'll tell you about compensatory later. Therefore, if the kid couldn't, without any of these things in place that I just talked about, that means that there's another phrase, that your child couldn't access the general curriculum because it didn't have the services. Special education is about leveling the playing field, the educational playing field for your kid with a disability, so that your kid can get the same out of going to school that non-disabled peers can. So sometimes in order to do that, these kids need extra support to access the same curriculum that the kids without disabilities can access. So they get the same education. I am really hot and I don't understand why, but I think it has something to do with me being excited. So the angrier I get or the more emotional, the harder I get. I don't know. But anyway. So that's because the IEP is not written right, the kid can't access the general curriculum. So it's a denial of FAPE. Okay? Or the kid wasn't even, they violated child fine. So he doesn't even have an IEP. So what you have to do is say he wasn't referred for special education, so it's a denial of FAPE. And now what you have to prove is that your kid, based on information that you have from the school, if you have outside evaluations and they're not accepting them, and they still denied that he needed, but now you have to go to the state and say, well, here it is. Here's all the information. Is my kid deemed eligible or what? And the state will come back and say, yes, the child is eligible based on this information. So school's wrong. And that means that however time your child went without services, that means because they denied him because your child wasn't deemed eligible for special education, that means they have to give you all of those services that he could have got. They have to give him. It's compensatory. Getting the services is compensatory. Services that he should have got but didn't, they have to give it. Or they use their opinions to determine eligibility or to determine how they're going to provide OT, PT, speech and language, academics. It was all based on their opinion. And you can't do that because we don't. Everybody's opinion is different. And everybody has an opinion like something else everybody has. So that's not good either. So they actually have to use certain instruments. And we can have another tutorial based on that. So I'm hoping that all of these tutorials will come together for you. And then I'll try to always keep them all linked together. So once you get all of this done and it's all compiled, and now you understand some of the things that you can use to get the complaint started, to get the school district investigated. Now there's another thing that you can do. You can also allege that the school district is doing it to all of the kids in the school. So when you say it's your son or your daughter, you can say your son or your daughter and the entire school. And that means that they have to investigate the entire district, which is way better leverage. Because if they did it to your kid, like they did in New York, we did that, and the state found that 27 other kids were not evaluated, were not referred to special education because they were using that stupid RTI stuff. And because they weren't, even the school district staff referred these kids to special education, but they weren't evaluated. So the state came in and said, there's 27 kids just in this year that were referred for special education, but you guys never did the evaluation. We want all of those kids evaluated. It took the district a year. We just found out from one of the parents that apparently she was one of the families that benefited from that. And she said she had been trying for 2 years. And it's because of RTI, which we're going to do a whole subject on RTI too. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's a lazy man's way of educating children. I truly believe that with all my heart. So when you get it all done, you package it all up. You put it in order, like I said, okay? And then you send it off. Now, you have to read the directions because in some states, like in Massachusetts, you have to send it to both parties. You have to send it to the state, and you have to send a copy of what you put together to the school district. Now, in other states, not so much. I think it's in New York, you don't have to. Double check. Pennsylvania, you do. You have to send it to both. And the reason why I know this is because I'm working in all of these states, but double check and make sure you read the directions. You have to sign it, because if you don't, they'll send it back, or they'll just pretend you didn't give it to them. Within a certain timeline, I believe it's within 20 days after receiving it, they're going to call you. Okay? Now, when they call you, they're going to ask you about what you wrote. And what they're really trying to do is to minimize what you alleged. Absolutely not. You tell them everything in there, I want you to investigate. And if you don't, when I get it and I find that you didn't, I'm just going to get it back and I'm going to refile, reframe and refile. And then I'm going to report you for not doing your job the first time. Because now my kid's going without services again. You didn't address it. So make sure when you're talking to them that you say, no, that's not what I said. It's right there in black and white. I want you to you tell them, I want you to investigate what I said. The allegation I made. That's what I want you to do. What do you need from me to make this more clear? Do I need to call Tammy Joy? Because she can tell you. That's how you do. Okay? Don't let them change your anything. And then put it in an email and say, after you had this conversation, if they tried to do that to you, you send an email and you say, pursuant to our conversation, or this is to reiterate our conversation today. Number yada 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 of my complaint. You were attempting to minimize this and attempting to change my allegation. I want this investigated the way I wrote it. I want you to investigate this or explain to me in writing what you don't understand about my allegation. Because according to the law, this is a violation. This is what I'm relying on. And I'm going to show you later how to go in and get this. Now, if there's any of you who are feeling like you want to do this and you don't have enough time to learn all of the ins and outs, just give me a call and contact me below, and I can help you out. Okay, I can show you how to do it, and you can also check out my website. It's not done yet. I've been a little bit busy with a whole bunch of hearings and stuff, so I'm trying to get through it. And you can see a little bit of what I do. I'm going to try to work on it today, later on, and hopefully by the time this is up and uploaded into YouTube, you guys will have seen it. I'd really like to know what you guys thought about this, and if it went too fast, or if it was too slow, or if it was too much, and if there's more information you need on a particular issue, please let me know, and I can break it down even further. I'm good. I like talking about this, and so anything that I can do to help you, I'm good. I'm not going to take it as a criticism. I need to know how to do this because it's all about you guys. It's not about me. I need to know what you need to know. I need to know what you didn't understand. So just let me know, and then I'll do my best to make it better. Okay? All the time I'm going to just try to make it better for you. So I will also provide the PowerPoint presentation that I used for this. It'll be attached so you can actually print it out if you want it. It'll be down below also. So just let me know what you think. And I want to thank everybody for participating. Spread the word. I need you guys to spread the word, to let people know that you do have someone out there who's on your side, who doesn't care about what people say. And I will do my best to give you all the help you need and getting the support and services that your child needs. This is all about your kid. It's all about your kid, and you're that child's voice. And if you don't know, you can't go to the kid. He don't know for sure. And so the other thing that I want to tell you guys is those people that work for the school district, they're not your friends. And if they are, it doesn't matter, because if they're not trying to help you, they're working against you. And so you need to understand where these people are in your life as it relates to your kid. If it's important for your child to be as independent as possible as he gets older or she gets older, then you need to stop looking at these people as your friends. They have a job to do, and so do you. Your job is to protect your child. Your job is to ensure that your child gets an education, whatever that may look like for your child. And nobody, and I mean nobody, gets to put a ceiling on what your child's education looks like, ever. Nobody gets to do that. Nobody gets to do that with any of the kids I represent. I check them right at the door real quick. Nobody does that to my kids, and I tell them, you just put a ceiling on my kid. You're not doing that. And as far as I'm concerned, all of these kids are mine. And I tell everybody, and I'm going to tell you, I represent children with disabilities as if they're mine. And I tell people they're my kids. And nobody bothers my kids. Nobody hurts my kids. I will fight you like a tiger. I don't care. I will do everything in my power to protect your child and to teach you how to protect your own kids. So I want to thank you guys for whoever is looking at this. Thank you. Thanks a lot. If you need more information, please, I'm going to try to do it better every single time I do it. Okay? Thanks a lot. I hope you get something out of this. And if you need more, contact me. I can be reached at spedissues@yahoo.com. I can be reached on Sped Q&A chat on Facebook and hashtag Sped Answers Way. Twitter is BSEATLJ, at BSEATLJ. And I think I can be reached, I don't know if I already told you this, but my website is spedanswers.com. There's going to be a lot of stuff out there pretty soon. Hopefully over the summer I'm trying to do a lot of stuff. So again, I want to thank you for allowing me into your lives and to help your child. Thank you and have a great day.